Today we're going to work on adding and subtracting radicals. Radicals, remember, are just problems that have square roots in them. In order to do this, you have to remember what like terms are. So we need to think about what are like terms. What are the like terms in 3x minus 4x plus 2y? You are right. They are the 3x and the negative 4x. 3x and negative 4x are like terms because they both have an x in them. 2y isn't a like term with them because it doesn't have an x. On the right-hand side, it's the same idea, except this time we're looking at what are the numbers underneath the square root signs instead of what are the variables. So we have to look to see which ones have like terms, or which ones are the same underneath the square root sign. We've got a 7 times the square root of 5, and over here we have a negative square root of 5. So our like terms would be 7 times the square root of 5 and negative square root of 5, or negative 1 times the square root of 5. So those will be our like terms. What we're going to do is combine like terms. And like, if you had a variable 3m plus m plus 8j, we can only put together the ones that are like terms. So in this, we could add 3m plus m. The m doesn't change. It's just that our coefficient in front of the m is going to change. 3m plus 1 more m would be 4m. We can't combine it with 8j because they don't have the same variable, so they're not like terms. Simplifying radicals is the same principle. On the left, we have square root of 6 plus 3 times the square root of 6. So we're just going to combine this. This first square root of 6 is just a 1. There's just one of them. So 1 times the square root of 6 plus 3 times the square root of 6. We just add the numbers that are out in front. 1 plus 3 is 4. And then our square root of 6 just stays square root of 6. Just like when we did 3m plus 1m, the m stayed the same. It was just the number in front of it that changed. So on the right-hand side, we have 2 times the square root of 7 minus 4 times the square root of 7. So we're just going to do 2 minus 4. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Then we just rewrite our square root of 7. So as we're doing this, make sure that you're writing down these examples and the work that goes with it so you can have something to look at when you're working on your own later. On the left, we have 6 times the square root of 10 plus 2 times the square root of 10. So again, we just combine the like terms. So we're going to add our 6 and our 2. 6 plus 2 is 8, and then we just leave this as the square root of 10. Over here, we've got 4 times the square root of 15 plus 2 times the square root of 15. So we're going to put the numbers that are in front of these together. 4 plus 2 is 6, and then we're leaving this just as square root of 15 underneath the square root sign. I want you to pause the video, please, and on the example side of your worksheet, which is the only side that you have, I think, you need to do number 1 through 9. It is not necessary for you to show work for this part, but please just make sure that you pay attention if it's add or subtract, and remember your positives and negatives also. When you get finished with that, go ahead and restart the video, please. Sometimes you have to simplify radicals before you can combine them. So on the left, we have 2 times the square root of 8 plus 4 times the square root of 2. I couldn't combine these if I wanted to because 8 and 2 are not like terms underneath there. So what I have to do is simplify this 8 to see if I can turn it into a square root of 2. I know from what we talked about yesterday that I can break this 8 apart into 4 times 2. So I'll do the 2 that was out in the front times the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. Square root of 4 is 2, so I'm going to do 2 times 2. And then, looky here, I have a square root of 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So really I have 4 times the square root of 2. And then, over here, I have this other plus 4 times the square root of 2. So we add our numbers that are in front of the square roots. So in this case, I'm going to add 4 plus 4 is 8. And then my square root of 2 stays the same. So 8 times the square root of 2. On the right-hand side, we have 4 times the square root of 75 minus 9 times the square root of 3. So my hint is that I want to get the 75 to be have a square root of 3 in it so I can combine the like terms. So I'm going to break apart 75. I think about 3 times what gives me 75? Well, 3 times 25 is 75. Lucky for me, I know that 25 is a square number. So I'm going to break this apart into 4 times the square root of 25 times 3. Then even farther, 4 times the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. Square root of 25, remember, just turns into a 5. Bring down your 4 times, and then also bring down your square root of 3. Combine this, 4 times 5 is 20. So I have 20 times the square root of 3. And then I'm just going to rewrite this whole thing way down here. Minus 9 times the square root of 3. So now I just put my 20 minus 9. 20 minus 9 is 11. And then I still have just a square root of 3 to go with it. On the left, we have square root of 64 plus 4 times the square root of 36. So I need to think about, what's the square root of 64? I know that 36 times something doesn't really give me 64. Because even if I multiply it by 2, I'm going to have something bigger than 64. So I just break this apart. Is there anything that goes into 64? Oh, 8 times 8 is 64. So the square root of 64 is just 8. So then I'm going to move on to this right-hand side of the problem. I think about the same thing. Is there anything that goes into 36? Well, 36 is a perfect square because 6 times 6 is 36. So I do 4 times 6. So now I just have 8 plus 4 times 6. Remember order of operations. He always applies. So we have 8 plus 24, which happens to be 32. On the right-hand side, we aren't going to get that lucky and have perfect squares underneath our square roots. So we have to break down our 12. 12 breaks down into 4 times 3. I knew to go with the one that had the 3 with it because of my 3 that's over here. So this breaks apart into square root of 4 times square root of 3. Square root of 4 is 2. So now I have 2 times the square root of 3. Bring down this whole, plus 5 times the square root of 3. And now I just combine my terms that are in the front. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So I have 7 times the square root of 3. Please go on ahead and do number 10 through 21 on the worksheet. Make sure that you show your work on this section. Work's going to be counted for one of the points. When you're finished with that, you can do 36 through 44 for extra credit. And then make sure you show work on that part and then get it turned into the sub when you're finished. Thanks. Have a good day.